Hi, everyone. I'm very excited today to have this conversation with our two wonderful guests, Lucy Craig from Popeyes Chicken and Josie Adams, head of people for Incipio Group. Now, I'll let them tell their own story, but what I find particularly interesting and exciting is not just the authority they have in their current positions in the industry, but actually the backstory that they went to university together and are best friends. So Lucy, kick us off. How did your career start and how did Josie come into your life?
So my career, I started in hospitality very young. I was a KP, I did glass collecting, worked with my mum at Worcester Racecourse. And then also while doing hospitality, this is no surprise, I'm sure there's lots of people that have the same connection, I was studying theatre and performing arts. Then applied for universities, very similar to Josie. So went for lots of universities and got accepted to some really good universities. Went to Brighton. Brighton had the ocean and like amazing nightlife.
Yeah, clubs are amazing on the ocean.
Yeah, and so went to Brighton University, met Josie Adams. We went outside for a cigarette and we got on instantly. So we got to know each other. We spent time with each other. I lived in halls in Brighton. Josie lived in halls outside Falmer. And this is like halls when they had like a single bed. And Josie basically moved in and we slept like head to toe. Then I got a job while being a student at the Ha Ha Bar and Canteen, which was a great job. Loved it. Was part of the opening team. And whilst at university, started working my way up. And when I finished university, a bit scary, I thought, right, I want to be the manager of this business. And anybody that I live with, Josie being one of them, I was like, come and work. And Josie did. Amazing with customers. But, oh my God, the night we got home, Josie, what was it? What was wrong?
Just my feet really hurt. And I again, they got better, obviously, through many, many years. But I was so cross with her. I remember I've always been very, very honest with each other. And I was like, I hate you. My feet, like, are you kidding me? Like, what is this? What is this? So, yeah. And the thing is, I'm going to say I'm younger than Lucy by like, what is it? Like a year. You can see it in the skin.
I know, it's months now.
Yeah, I think it might be like a couple of months. Yeah, I was weak. A weak woman. I had to grow with some strength.
But you stuck it out.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it was amazing. And I think also when you meet somebody, and I can honestly say this, the biggest changes in my life have come through Lucy. I think when Lucy says be kind, and I take the mick because I'm slightly more cynical, but also underneath it all, I'm exactly the same in terms of kindness is so important. But when you meet someone who changes your life, and Lucy has done, for me, when we met, we knew it. And then every big decision I've had or every move I've made in my career, it's either been kind of working with Lucy or then going apart and understanding what I'm doing. But I've never made a big decision in my career or in my home life without her. So in terms of closeness, it's like, you know, there is no one close. I would say to my partner, he's like, if you had to choose, I was like, yeah, it's Lucy. Fact. He's very aware.
So what I'm looking for now is like points of disagreement, because I know there'll be loads of points of agreement, because I think that's where the wider people in the industry watching this are going to probably learn the most. So let's just call out some things. HR analytics, BS or not?
It's just, again, you can't just say HR analytics, BS or not. It's like some work, some don't. Some things are important, some things aren't. It's whenever they're relevant. Again, I wouldn't call bullshit on it, but I will, BS. But I will say that you can use stats to do whatever you want them to do. One thing me and Lucy learned early on with a great finance guy called Chris Law is whatever you want to make happen, you can make it by asking different questions. So yeah, as always, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I think you could get loads of things to back up what you say, but I do understand that everybody needs to relate, and some people need to see statistics, some people need to hear the feelings of what's going on out there. So I think it's in balance. It's a balance. It's inevitable. It's always going to be there, but it's not just relying on that and letting that be your compass.
Yeah.
And And I was just about to think of a point to do with analytics that came up. It'll come back to me.
When I talk about people data, at least in my little world, we talk about digital leadership, obviously, right? And you can't tell the quality of the leadership just by the volume of the activity. But if there's a total absence of activity, then that's a pretty strong indicator that there's also an absence of leadership, good or bad. Yeah. So in that sense, seems to me that data is very real, and that's equipping people leaders with some hard numbers to deliver some pretty hard messages to their executive colleagues. But I don't know about the wider people data landscape. That's why I'm sort of curious.
But I think the thing is, and again, it's something we've been talking about. Ops manager I work with, I love, but he talks a lot about can you quantify that? What does that actually mean? And it's something that I've been talking about loads in terms of recruitment. This huge thing of everyone going, recruitment is absolute nightmare. And everyone's, instead of saying, right, how many vacancies do we have? And this is where later on, how many vacancies do we have? Live vacancies. Why are our people leaving? Let's ask them the question. Instead of just going, this many people have left. So it's not always because of pay or because of the wrong benefit. It can be because lifestyle choices. There are so many different things. So for me, the problem with analytics is it doesn't ask every question. It asks very simple questions and it doesn't get into the detail. And no matter what, complexity of people, and this is something I think we both agree on, is that people are so complex and do things for so many different reasons, and how much control you have in a people position. I can sit there and I'd love to go and, run one of my sites and go, right, let's look after every person. I will do it how I would do it. But that's not my job. My job is to inspire and empower the person who is, and work with the ops manager who's going to inspire and empower the person who's running that site. And no analytics is going to help me stand with somebody who can't afford to pay to go home at night. Or has to get the last bus, and it's scary. And we've got a site in Brixton which closes at 12:30, and you've got to get out there at 12:30, and we've got people who don't want to work till late. Those are the questions that I want to find answers to. Those are how I want to get those people to love hospitality, but be able to get them home at night. That's the only thing they've got a problem with.
Those are the questions that it's harder to manage the answers.
Absolutely.
So
they're hard questions.
We analyse the wrong things that are easier to manage or don't cost us money.
100%.
What's the answer to that then? I mean, is that just about picking the right employer? Is that about pushing those that you work with on boards to be better, be different? Is it unanswerable?
It's all of that. But I tell you what, I steal loads of Lucy's stuff, and I think she might steal some of mine. But I have pictures of agendas that Lucy's done before in training sessions that she sent me, and I'm like, oh, I love that. And one that you did, and I don't know if you remember it, is Find Genius, ask questions, ask extreme questions. And I was looking at these 5 points, and I was like, what could Incipio, you're trying to think about the creative words of how do we make really simple, really big things. I was like, ask extreme questions, challenge upwards, challenge to the side, but challenge in the right way. Don't go defensive or attacking at every point. Say, but what about this? And follow it up and review it and follow it up. But it's hard work. And what Lucy and I are talking about is not something that you can pick out of a hat and go, oh, this is where we are as an industry.
Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted.
My morning, all distractions.
But sometimes the feedback that you get, so team surveys, when you said about different sectors in hospitality. So I've worked in different sectors, and the 2 top answers were always the same. So one is this is for team members, for example. I would like my rotas 2 weeks in advance so I can plan my life.
Oh my God.
Of course. Secondly, I would like to be fed, and I'd like really nice food. And then loads of excuses can come in with those 2 weeks rotas of how we operate, you do it, and then there's changes. And it's because it's hard. And then it goes. And then it's like, oh, but somebody quite fancies a new uniform. That's exciting. Let's go and get a new uniform. Yes, uniforms are important. I'm not saying that, but it's actually tackling the 2 big things first, and it's across, and it doesn't seem to change. So why don't we do it?
Have you ever seen those? Have you ever seen giving people sufficient forward notice of their rotas and giving them nice food on shift successfully solved? Have you managed to solve that?
Yes.
Some, but I still fight the fight. It's not everywhere and it's not consistent.
Yeah, this is it. You say yes. So for the first 3 months, it's beautiful. Everybody's happier. Thank you for listening. And people say, and they recommend their friends. This is really good. And they have a life. and then something happens like Christmas, bookings are coming in. In hospitality, Christmas comes every year in life, but we still manage to then allow it to distract the things that we do well.
And I think this goes back to that recruitment point. I said it's being talked about all the time. And everyone's like, I said, look after the people you have, develop them, look after them, create a core, and do that. The rotas thing, I reckon it might be my biggest people frustration, because Lucy and I did it. So we know it can be done. It's not like, oh, we did it, but it can be done. We did a 4-week, do you remember, Lucy? It's like 2 weeks stuck and then 2 weeks rolling. You don't believe every survey I put out, and Lucy's absolutely bang on, understanding what you're working the next day is something that everybody wants, and I want it. Like, it's obvious, but yeah, people don't do it.
Can we go a bit deeper on that then? So assuming that we don't all work with idiots or psychopaths, some of us probably are unfortunate enough to, but most of us don't. So let's assume that the businesses that fail on that do it in good faith. What are they trading? What are they prioritizing over people, either explicitly or accidentally?
Maybe
it's not. Go, Luce.
Well, I just wonder sometimes as well, we look at the wrong measures and the wrong KPIs and the wrong focus. And Labour becomes such a big thing that it's made rotoring and planning hard, because a lot of process that we do, you do it, you get sent off for it to be authorised, it gets checked, it comes back. So already before you start sitting down to do it, you know it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
So are we addressing that in the right way? As people professionals, HR professionals, when we have our objectives set, it's generally on team turnover. And actually, when I joined Popeyes, that was in there, and I said, I have no idea what that's going to be this year.
Yeah.
None of us have any idea. We knew last year it was tough in hospitality, and especially at the moment, we're in London at the moment. And I said, you know what, measure me. Let's watch it. I'm absolutely interested, because that will affect recruitment and everything else. But how do we measure things like happiness instead? And actually, if we measure happiness, we don't have to have a meeting where we train, manage the team what turnover and retention is and formulas. We talk about what the measurement of that is. And for me, it's a focus for everybody to be looking at from a people-wise. That's it. I'm not going to start bringing in turnover ratings, the KPIs, the different stats that are a bit of a distraction, actually, because if our team are happy, our customers are happy. To me, that's how it all rolls. And I would say that, because that's totally the angle that I believe in, or else I wouldn't work in people.
Well, it's interesting. So it seems like common sense, which is why I'm pressing the point, because if you know that giving people certainty over their life by helping them understand what's happening in their rota, and then you're giving them something that is a real delight, like good food at work, but that doesn't cost you that much any more than your cost of produce, I suppose, and some sort of discounted sense of labour, seems straightforward. And it just seems weird to me that everyone's frantically trying to re-recruit the people they're losing if they're not doing those two things that might hold on to them. And I refuse. I really think that you have an opportunity to help people do that better, because there must be loads of owners in the sector accidentally making that mistake.
I think what's really interesting as well, Rob, is how much reaction and proactivity come in. We work in an industry where you open the doors and people come in and you're at work, and then you have to work out what your time looks like. So you get in earlier, you organise your time. So Wednesday's health and safety, Thursday's rotoring, you organise your time. But then you get a phone call or an email about this, about that. And HQs are getting bigger. There is more push to get more understanding from our general managers, from our people. I think when you've got, as I said, a big task and you're trying to work it out, and then you're trying to feed everyone on shift, but you're trying to feed the guests as well, it becomes really, and you can start with the best intentions, but it's a reactive nature. And however proactive you want to be, one of our sites, Pergola Paddington, it's got a 90-something team. So it's a bit of a beast, and it can hold like 1,800 in one point. And it goes. And when it goes, it goes. So it is, how do we get drink and food to our guests? But that's number one. So they're not thinking, because they're thinking so much about that, they're not thinking about how do I look after my team so that they are in the best place forward to give amazing hospitality to that. So it becomes I totally with you. I'm like, why not do that? That's number one. But it goes down the list quite quickly when you suddenly, you've got a toilet that's overflowing, a guest who's had an allergen reaction, all these things that can happen. It suddenly gets taken away and it becomes another job for tomorrow. And by the time tomorrow comes, no one's got a rota. And then you throw it out there. You don't think about who's doing what. You don't look at the different things they've asked for. And it becomes a challenge again. And I think that is a rolling problem, which we can fix by giving them time and, again, creating a way that they can not be better, but be more clear about what they're doing.
What's interesting as well is this hospitality thing we have, this rites of passage. We spend time on career pathways and we want people to succeed. But there's still this feeling, if you ask people honestly, the majority of people in hospitality, this thing of, it's a rites of passage, you have to work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You've got to do everything. You just
I work 90 hours. I work 90 hours.
Yeah, I do 90-hour weeks. I just live on espresso coffee.
Yeah. Or I've got to have my phone on because something might happen. So if I'm in a meeting, something's happening. Gotta go. Drama.
And if people, God forbid, ask for time off on a weekend, people honour it, but it's frowned on. And to me, that's just no. And again, after this year, when people couldn't see friends and family and travel, got to be really open to that. We say the good thing about hospitality is flexible. It's 24/7, so we can be flexible, but we do need to be more flexible. It is hard, but we do need to get there.
One of my observations is that I think we're seeing quite a lot of outsourcing of leadership across the sector to people leaders and to technologies. This is no place to try and name and shame. So let's talk about the counterpoint to that. Who are the best ambassadors in terms of for people, culture, leadership that you've seen either in your existing businesses? You've mentioned some of those from the past. Do you feel like you've got real allies in your current organisation so that you're not just fighting that fight in a sort of sounding good on a webinar, but not actually able to implement it?
I completely, yes. And it's not just because, again, I probably wouldn't oust my beautiful people I work with right now, but I honestly could not ask for a group, a CEO and directors and that senior leadership team who are intense. And for me, as I said, it's all about intent. We're not always going to get there. Things happen, things change. We have to roll with it. There is always room to be flexible. But the intent is amazing. And also and the open discussion. And I think that for me, as I said quite a lot of times, is honesty and transparency. For me, when you're talking about people, you've got to be in a room where there's trust. And for me, that is you talk about leadership, sitting there going, well, what are they saying? And that need to know and actually take it on board and not be defensive and go, but we're trying to do this, this and this. And going, okay, well, if they're feeling like that, then we're not doing something. So how do we get better? And always questioning and asking extreme questions. How do we get better? What can we do? And I definitely feel like that is something, and I'm hearing it more and more. Said people are just going, how do we make it work? How do we use better technology? How do we get better? It's also exciting times. I'm excited.
Well, this is it. I think it's tough times. But everybody has come through this door of COVID. And it's like, what do you want to leave behind that door and not take with us? And I think in hospitality, we've had so many challenges. The teams, the support teams, I don't know if it's everywhere, are smaller.
Yeah. Oh,
so it means that you have to rely on each other more and learn from each other more and be more accountable and want to. In huge corporations, there's some people that might ask you to do something you do first, thinking, I like you, and when I do something for you, it makes me feel really good. And this happens. And there might be people that they wait until the third response. But now there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
We're all in it. And we don't want to. We need to bring this back up. So everything that was great before, we amplify it, and everything that wasn't, then just don't do it or deal with it straight away. And do you know what? It's really working now. So we all feel it. But it's just keeping that going.
Closing advice. If there's a people leader or an aspiring people leader that's watching this and their business, their leadership team don't get it, aren't implementing it, what should they do? Should they stay and fight, or should they go find a team that do get it?
Wow. Straight away for me, as I said, if you believe in, there's belief in there. If you have belief, then you stay and fight. because for me, people can always change. I'm always surprised every day from people from across the hierarchy of the business that people change. If you get to the point where there isn't a breath in you to fight, then yeah, go find somebody who you freaking love. For me, joy and happiness is, we only have one of these lives. So go and really enjoy what you do. I have an amazing life. I have an amazing best mate. I'm really happy. The fact that my job makes me really excited and happy as well is awesome. And yeah, there's crap days, but they are always outweighed. So for me, stay and fight until you go, there's no fight left. But always fight if you believe in it.
And with the fight as well, it's turning it round. Because I think there was a while ago where suddenly lots of people stopped having HR and had people and culture.
Yeah.
They attracted different people. So they attracted people that maybe want to be more involved in the business, maybe had been operators, and they were like, whoa. And also these were people that had done coaching and held a bit of a mirror and went, hey, I've been here a while and I've noticed these things happen and this has this effect. And they're like, I don't want to hear that because we're successful and moving forward. And then you might clash because we all find it hard throwing the mirror up. But it's how you go about it and having those questions one-to-one again, what do you want? What do you see from my role? And it's gaining that understanding because sometimes you are coming from totally opposite areas. You'll just keep fighting and keep pushing against each other. So it's gaining understanding. And I'm with Josie, absolutely love what I do. And I know Josie very well, and she's really good at the fight and probably loves that as well when challenged.
And I think that's probably our bit of differentiation. I quite enjoy fight. And as said, that's... and again, but it's all about the balance. And I think I have absolutely, Christ, in the last 2 weeks, sometimes you just got to shut your mouth and you don't have to fight everything. You let other people...
Two ears, one mouth, Joyce. Heard that before?
Exactly. It's all about listening. Not talking.
But the moral of the story, as I took it from both of you, the one with more of a taste for conflict and one with more of a taste for resolution, you both think the right thing to do is, if you believe in the brand and you think that people can change, is stick it out and fight it out.
And usually that's as well because you've made a connection with the people. You're working for those people, and it's up to you to turn that whole business into their focus being on the people, the lens on them.
And do you know what, Craig? I don't know if you feel this. I definitely do. Is I look back at the last companies I've worked for, and you go kind of Orchid, M&B, Young's, and now Incipio. And it's not as much the companies for me, the people I remember. I remember the people, and I remember, and it's the joy. So I only ever have joy and only have people. And I'm in contact with people from all of those places. And so you don't go, that company was good at that company was good at that. You go, the people were amazing. And yeah, there's always a couple, but the people are the things that make it, which is why I don't want to be called a head of HR or an HR director. I want to be called head of people, because that's what you are. You are there to be their ambassador, to be their champion, and to make sure that they're being listened to and heard. I think that's the key.
What a way to end that was. Lucy and Josie, thank you so much for doing this. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.